The right dominates the online media ecosystem, seeping into sports, comedy, and other supposedly non-political spaces. So this is from Media Matters. A new Media Matters analysis found 9 out of the 10 top online shows assessed are right-leaning. As Americans increasingly get their news from online shows and streamers, the influence of this media ecosystem becomes more prominent, and Media Matters has found that the most popular of this content is overwhelmingly right-leaning. In a new study, Media Matters assessed this audience size of popular online shows, podcast streams, and other long-form audio and video content regularly posted online. To do so, we gathered data on the numbers of followers, subscribers, and views across streaming platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, Twitch, and Kick. And social media platforms that are used to amplify and promote these shows: Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Apple Podcasts does not publicly provide follower counts on its platforms, so it was not included in the audience data. Hey, Chariot, thank you. This analysis was based on 320 online shows with a right-leaning or left-leaning ideological bent. We found that right-leaning online shows dominate the ecosystem, which, look, I'm sure all of us could have intuited or guessed based on our experience and what we see. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's been pretty obvious for a while that that's the case. And if you even, have a, just like a basic understanding of how the algorithms tend to work on these things, these platforms, then you understand why. It's not because the ideas are just popular because they're good. That's not why. Here's the key findings. We found that right-leaning online shows dominate the ecosystem with substantially larger audiences on both politics and news shows and supposedly non-political shows that we determined often platform ideological content or guests. So like Joe Rogan or Nerderotic, things like that. We found 320 online shows, 191 right-leaning and 129 left-leaning that were active in 2024 and covered news and politics and or had related guests. These shows had about 584.6 million total followers and subscribers. We found substantial asymmetry in the total following across the platforms. Right-leaning online shows had at least 480.6 million total followers and subscribers, nearly 5 times as many as left-leaning. Well, yeah, I mean, because they're addicts, man. That's what this is showing us essentially. When you understand how social media algorithms operate and what they reward, they're literally rewarding people for getting angry. And the more angry you are, the more frustrated, pissed off, whatever, the more righteous you feel about somebody fucking doing something to hurt you or your country or whatever it is, you're gonna just react more, and that reaction is engagement with this content. And they don't think for themselves, and they don't understand systems, they don't understand data, they don't understand things like that. So they go back to the content over and over again. You know what I mean? To learn what they need to learn, or what they think they're supposed to learn. Yeah, rage bait. So let's look at these numbers, man, because it's crazy. Across platforms, YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Kick, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, right-leaning online shows accounted for roughly 82% of the total following of the online shows that they assessed. The thing is, it's like to me anyway, it is my life. These are things that I care about deeply, and the difference is that I think lefties, we want to understand things better. You know what I mean? Like, generally, we want to understand. We don't want to have something easy fed to us so that we can just, have a really simplistic, quippy response to whatever, right? We understand generally the systemic issues at play here. If you ever look at an argument between somebody on the left and somebody on the right, in almost every case, not always, because there are some right-leaning people like, propagandists in particular that do manipulate data and studies to their advantage. But most of the time, you're going to see people making left on the left. They're going to be talking about stuff that's based on studies, based on data sets, statistics, and then systemic analysis. And then on the right, they're going to use anecdotes to try and prove their point. They're going to bring up emotionally charged anecdotal cases. No, you're right. Yeah, I mean, I guess if we're talking about liberals, yeah, that's part of the problem, is that just like generals, straight down the middle liberals, soft lefties, They don't engage with the ideas and understand, try to understand things to the degree that leftists do. I think that's kind of one of the differences with like leftists, people who like, once you put the effort into studying this stuff and studying, you know, the systemic issues and, you know, statistics involved and just like looking at the repeated cycles of history, you eventually just get to a point where you're like, oh man, this whole system is fucked. Instead of trying to think that, you know, well, we got to just change this one little thing and that'll fix everything or whatever. Right, there you go. An immigrant killed someone, so all are bad. Thank you. That was a good example. Look, as a matter of fact, Donald Trump has been using that poor woman that got killed, or little girl, I don't know, remember exactly the details, but there was a woman or girl that got murdered by someone who was an illegal immigrant. That happened. And Donald Trump keeps on using that one fucking example. And it's like, yes, that is bad. You know, that's the thing is, and it makes it hard to push back against, because anything, if you don't say it just the right way, they're going to take that and they're going to, you know, use that optically to be, oh, you don't care about the lives of this person or whatever. It's like, no, I'm saying that like, you can't use that one example over and over and over again as if that's something that we need to legislate about. You know, we don't have a murderous immigrant problem. That's just not a thing that's happening. Comparatively, left-leaning online shows had nearly 104 million followers and subscribers across the 8 platforms. Oh, Jesus Christ. Is that true? And he did anyway? Fucking what? These people are... I don't like using terms like evil, man. I really don't. But it's just becoming more... It's harder and harder to avoid it sometimes. In my frustration. Okay, so 9 out of 10 online shows with the largest followings across platforms were right-leaning, with a total following more than 197 million. The only left-leaning show among the top 10 was What Now with Trevor Noah. That's not good, man. The only show that's like even comparatively as large as these other ones is Trevor Noah. We've talked about this on the Fapcast before, that like he's not stupid. He's stupid about things that you and I think are important, but he's also, but in specific ways, he's very intelligent, as in like how to game the system. He's much smarter and you know, than a lot of people when it comes to that. I don't think it does us a lot of good to just write anybody off as stupid for the most part. You know, it's an easy word to use to just like shut down ideas or whatever, but like, because ideas can definitely be very stupid. Wait, Midas Touch interviewed Joe Rogan? What are you talking about? Where's that? What was this? What are you talking about? Oh. Overthrew. Oh, what do you mean by that? The analysis looked at entirely at shows with an ideological bent, found over a third self-identify as non-political. And this is exactly why I got into YouTube, because I was seeing that happen, and it was really, really fucking upsetting when I realized that. When I would recognize that there's these channels and grifters on other platforms that, you know, are using fandom, and they're talking, ostensibly they're about fandom and media, the stuff that I like, that we like. But what they're really doing is radicalizing people, and you know, alienating people from culture, popular culture. That's fucking awesome. I didn't know that. On Spotify too, huh? Wow. I've never even listened. I didn't know there was a Midas Touch podcast. I mean, I watched lots of videos by those people, that network or whatnot, but like, I didn't know there was just a podcast. So yeah, non-political, right? Like Nerdrotic, like Geeks and Gamers, non-political. Even though 72% of those shows, the ones that say they're non-political, were determined to be right-leaning. They describe themselves as comedy, entertainment, sports, or put themselves in other supposedly non-political categories. Out of 320 online shows, right-leaning programs categorized as comedy, 15 shows in all, had 117.5 million followers and subscribers, or 20% of the total following of programs assessed. This category included the Joe Rogan podcast or experience this past weekend with Theo Vaughn and Full Synth podcast. Right-leaning shows accounted for 2/3 of the total. And let's talk about why they use comedy, right? Because we're just joking. You can just say that about anything. And if you're leading with the pretense of like, well, these are all just jokes, you know, we're lighten up. Everybody likes a joke. And, you know, yeah, sometimes they get a little racy. Sometimes they're a little edgy, but it's not hurting anybody. It's just jokes. Yeah, but as we know, it's not as simple as that. Um, do any Chud supporters and fanboys, such as the dude who debated organized chaos, go on your socials? Go was off the walls, insulting harassment to anyone. I mean, yeah, yes. Oh, sorry, that happened to you. Yeah, they do that. They will hop around and chase you down because look, here's what they're trying to do. Like people that are really, really deranged and stupid that are defending these chuds. I fully believe that what they're doing whenever they are just like they won't let something go, that they're coming at you like all aggressive and shit, and they're like, no, you blah blah blah, and they're like being bad faith and or stupid. They are desperate, desperate to avoid cognitive dissonance, and that they will do anything and say anything to avoid whatever it is. That's why they show up on my channel. You can go look on my channel and probably see, in any video almost, comments where they're just like fucking irate about whatever my video is about. Recently, as a matter of fact, the one that really got them pissed off was the Geeks and Gamers guy used to be like a regular dude video. If you watch that video, it shows, I kind of went through Jeremy Grigg's Instagram timeline from more recently to years ago. And you can just see in reverse order, the shift of this guy from somebody who was probably a dickhead. He's probably always a conservative. That's true. But like, he used to just post about his dogs. He has cute dogs or did have cute dogs. And he would post about those and he would post memes and stuff like that. And it was like a regular dude. Even if we disagreed, he was a regular guy. And then as time goes on, you can just see that like his brain has been scooped out and replaced with a MAGA brain, where that's the only thing that he fucking cares about. And then if you watch that video uploaded yesterday on my channel, where he was like fucking flipping out on Eric July because, just watch the video. It's like, it becomes clear he's not a regular person at all. He's been completely, transposed into a fucking agent of MAGA. That's what he exists to do. Yeah, they do that shit. But yeah, so whenever they're in the comments of my videos, or they're arguing with you guys or whatever, in many cases, ask yourself if they're just doing this because they have to avoid cognitive dissonance. Because if they just left, if they listen to whatever the arguments against their position is or whatever the evidence laid out, such and such, and then they just went about their day, it would probably start to create fucking problems in their programming. Because some of this stuff is just objective evidence of grifting and lying. You know what I mean? The stuff that we the initiative and stuff that we put out there. It's like you have to be willingly or at least unconsciously denying reality to maintain a position with some of this shit. And so they will argue and create these fucking stupid justifications for things. It's not for you as much as it is for them. That's what I think. Let me know what you think. I will say, you know what? We'll look at these first. Look at these couple of images we got. Yeah. I mean, I said that pretty much at the beginning of this thing. Like, there's a couple of reasons why they do this. So yeah, you can just kind of see it's about what you probably intuit. You know what I mean? The Young Turks, Breakfast Club, Trevor Noah. Who else we got here? H3, David Pakman. Yeah. Damage Report, Brian Tyler Cohen, Midas Touch there. I kind of... Right. Yeah, I mean, there's, like Damage Report is still technically part of, TYT network. So I don't want to write off the whole network because I do actually really like John and the people that he has on his shows. But yeah. I mean, like, yeah, Jenk is for sure. And Anna's not on there anymore, is she? Is she still on there? So 9 of the 10 online shows from their study with the largest total following across the platform were right-leaning. Yeah, I fucking love Francesca. I haven't watched The Bituation Room really, but I've been thinking I should give it a shot. It's just it's hard for me to commit to a new podcast. So like on Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, this Full Send or whatever it is, they've had Jordan Peterson. Even though they're characterized as comedy, they have Jordan Peterson, Dr. Phil. They've also had Timothy Chalamet, Mr. Beast, Luke Bryan. But then they've had Trump, Vance, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Tucker Carlson, Dave Smith, Tulsi Gabbard. 65 right-leaning online shows had followings larger than 1 million, but only 21 left-leaning online shows post comparable followings. I don't know that they side with them. I haven't heard him making any kind of arguments for them, but like they are part of the media network. I don't know what that entails, if there's some kind of contract involved there, or I would imagine there is. It's a media network. I'm sure that it's something like he's doing what he's allowed to do, whatever he wants to do on the damage report. I think, he has autonomy and then is still able to, utilize whatever resources and shit that, yeah, John says, friend. There you go. I mean, I don't know if John's even commented on it. I kind of would like to know though, now that I think about it. It's yeah, man, that makes sense. So, this is the kind of thing that, I'll be honest, sometimes makes me feel like it's a lost cause to be on YouTube doing this stuff. But it's not a lost cause. I know that. They want me to get tired. They want me to give up and think, it's a lost cause. No point in doing this. And I go through, every once in a while, I'll go through like a couple of days where I get kind of deterred, just based on things going on, in the world and then in my life at the same time. And then just like, man, I could be doing something else with my time. But yeah, that's more people than there in the US. Yeah, definitely some in other countries. And what I was thinking about, unfortunately, about the Joe Rogan being surpassed on Spotify is that he still definitely gets more general views than the Midas Touch podcast, because even though they passed him on Spotify, a lot of people still listen or watch on YouTube still. Yeah, man, he's a fucking shit. Exactly. And as as Morgan said in our Discord server earlier, I'm gonna actually read it. So yeah, after I pointed out this stuff, by the way, Bloomberg also watched and analyzed over 2,000 videos, nearly 1,300 hours of footage from 9 prominent YouTubers, including Aiden Ross, Joe Rogan, Logan Paul, Theo Vaughn, and Patrick Bet-David, and found that, above all, the broadcasters described American men as victims of a Democratic campaign to strip them of their power, though none of the broadcasters style themselves as political pundits. Interesting. So, as Morgan said, look at what they need to emulate a fraction of our power. And that's a powerful, potent, true statement. Like, they eked out an electoral win. If you haven't looked at the final numbers of the election, you should do that. If you're under the impression that this is like a blowout or a landslide or whatever, no. I don't have them off the top of my head, but Donald Trump's campaign smartly put pressure in very specific areas and came out on top in most of those areas, as opposed to like just blowing out the entire, national campaign. Point being, they had to do this much shit, right? Had to do all of this with their fucking think tank money to eke out a win. So really think about that. Put that in perspective. They don't have anything to offer. And what they do have is, typically based on faulty, flawed, intentionally misrepresented positions and understandings of things. And then they have to have a whole fucking swath of people that are pushing their propaganda, most of whom, or many of whom, don't even advertise themselves as political, creators. You got, what is Patrick Bet David? He's a money guy. Is that what he is? A culture guy? He's a culture guy, right? You got fandom channels that we're just talking about fandom and what's wrong with these, this media, this stuff like that. They're lying to the audience. They're lying to the audience. Meanwhile, the biggest left-leaning sources are Trevor Noah, clearly political. I mean, I'm sure he categorizes as a comedy, but I don't think anybody mistakes him for not being political, right? And then you got, Midas Touch, David Pakman, and then like, for example, me, I don't present myself as a political content creator, but I also don't pretend that I'm not, that I make it known that my politics are intertwined with the media that I discuss. You know what I mean? They've always been. I've never hid it. I've never tried to be like, oh yeah, I'm just a regular old comic book channel. What are you guys doing? By the way, vote for Bernie.